This episode is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, the #1 seller of games and gaming accessories. And GatheringMagic.com, the #1 resource for Magic the Gathering news and articles.
My name is Justin, and this is my Kaalia deck. Thank you, and welcome to my deck tech for Kaalia of the Vast. She comes to us via the Command decks that were released last year. Kaalia is Oros colors, white, black, and red. I've built Kaalia on a multiplayer theme because that's primarily what my playgroup does. She hits hard and doesn't sit around waiting to cast big spells. So let's get started. As you can see, Kaalia, it costs 4 mana to come out, 1 colorless, white, black, and red. She's a 2/2 flying and has the ability, when she comes into play and attacks, you can put in an angel, a demon, or dragon from your hand into play, tapped and attacking. I built Kaalia basically to use and abuse this ability. So let's get off and start with the artifacts. First we have, for my mana fixing, I run Soul Ring. Having Soul Ring in your opening hand has won me many games. Being able to play Lightning Greaves for a Signet turn 1 comes in real handy. Next we have Rakdos Signet to give me black and red. Orzhov Signet to give me white-black. Boros Signet to give me red-white. Then we have Darksteel Plating. It's an amazing equipment in this deck. It itself is indestructible, but it also makes Kaalia indestructible. We have Lightning Greaves to give Kaalia the haste she needs the turn she comes out, or for any of the creatures that I eventually hardcast. Swiftfoot Boots, Lightning Greaves' little brother. Next we have Sword of Light and Shadow. Gives my creature pro black and pro white, and when the creature attached to the sword does damage to an opponent, I gain 3 life and return a creature from my graveyard to my hand. This is pretty great in this deck because I'm constantly getting Wrath, so returning creatures to my hand every time I attack with Kaalia or any creature it's attached to is pretty good. Next we have Sword of Feast and Famine. It gives me pro black and pro green, and when it does damage to an opponent, it makes them discard a card, and it gets me to untap my mana. It's also an infinite combo with Aggravated Assault, which I also run in this deck. It's not that great, but it can stay in the deck, but it can also be taken out. Next I have Sword of Fire and Ice. It gives my creature pro red and pro blue, and when it does damage to an opponent, I can ping them or a creature for 2 and get to draw a card. Next we have Defense Grid, a really good defensive artifact in this deck. It says that during each player's turn, spells played by another player cost an additional 3. So when they're going to be playing that 1 or 2 mana counter spell early on, or any swords or path, it's going to cost them 4 or more to play. And here we have an artifact version of Kaalia, Quicksilver Amulet. It allows me to get out my creatures when I don't have Kaalia's ability to use for 4 mana, instead of having to pay 6 or more. So for when I need instant blocker or an enter the battlefield effect, I can use Quicksilver Amulet instead of Kaalia. Then we have Mimic Vat to help against graveyard recursions, and it helps with all the wraths that are in my playgroup. For every time Kaalia dies, I can put her on the Mimic Vat if I need to, or for any graveyard combos that are going off, I could take something off of the combo and put it on Mimic Vat instead. Now we have the creatures. Rakdos the Defiler, it has to be in this deck because Kaalia's ability allows me to negate Rakdos' second effect. So when I use Kaalia to put him into a play attacking, they end up having to sack their half their non-demon permanents rounded up, instead of me having to sack my permanents. Next we have Gisela. She is like almost another auto included in this deck. She allows you to double all the damage you do, and she allows you to half the damage taken into you, but she also has an ability that says your opponents do double damage also. So it can become quite a political card if you play it right. Next we have Oros, the key, I guess, color coordination dragon for this deck. He came in the original Kaalia deck, and I wanted to try him out in the deck because I haven't gotten him to work pretty well, so I wanted to see if he worked well with Kaalia. But it's great to have that when he attacks and does damage, I can pay 3 and do 3 damage to each non-white creature. Then we have Angel of Despair. She's a Vindicate on a creature. So when I need to destroy any pesky permanents on the field that don't have Shroud or Hexproof, she's my go-to creature. And Steel Hellkite, I think he is an auto-clued in this deck because of his mini Pernicious Deed ability. I have token opponents in my playgroup, and I also have a Zur player. So Steel Hellkite getting in there and attacking and doing his mini Pernicious Deed really helps me to clear fields when I really need to. Next we have Grand Abolisher. He is my City of Solitude on a creature in white. Says that during my turn, my opponents can't cast spells, activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, or enchantments. Next we have Karmic Guide. Because I always have a lot of creatures going to the graveyard, Karmic Guide always is bringing me a creature back every time I cast her, and you don't have to cast her twice because of Kaalia. You can always just end up having to pay her echo cost if you want to keep her around, but she's also great as a pro-black flying creature. Next we have Baneslayer Angel. Because in my deck I lose a lot of life because of the hatred of my deck, I need to get my life back somehow, so Baneslayer is one of those ways. Plus, she's also a protection for me against a lot of those demon and dragon generals that a lot of people play. Next is Angelic Arbiter. Makes my opponents decide, do they want to cast creatures this turn, or do they want to attack this turn, or cast other spells and then not attack. So it gives them a multitude of options to do one of the two. It just depends on how much they hate me at the time. Next we have Victory's Herald. It says that whenever Victory's Herald attacks, attacking creatures gain life, link, and flying until end of turn. So this is another card that'll help me gain all that life back that I lose from continually getting beat on. And next we have what I think is the best angel ever made, Akroma, Angel of Wrath. Because her abilities alone just make her a 6/6 demon on a stick, basically. As soon as she's on the field, even if she's just by herself, she becomes an automatic target for everyone to kill her. We have Avacyn. She's awesome to have out early. Makes all my permanents indestructible, and even if you want to, like I have in my deck for certain occasions, if you get Kaalia out early, or not Kaalia out early, and Avacyn out early, say around 4 lands or more, you can end up Armageddoning, and none of your lands get destroyed, so you can have Avacyn swing for the win in like 2 turns. Iona is in here for the obvious monocolor lockout, because we don't want those mono blue players to counter anything I do, or to do their combos, or to have any of the pesky mono green players using all their token creatures against us. Skittles is in for the obvious for early infect damage. Even late game, he's still pretty good, because even getting halfway there for infect in late game is still pretty scary. Next we have Harvester of the Souls. I have him in here now as basically a lot of card draw. I have so many wraths in this deck against me that I'm constantly losing creatures. My opponents are constantly losing creatures. So if I get him out once or twice a game, I'm normally netting 2 or 3 cards off of him or more, especially if he has Darksteel Plate on him. And then we have Rune-Scarred Demon. Rune-Scarred Demon is in here for the obvious. Kaalia gets him out for free, and they get the Demonic Tutor for free. Here you have Ryusei. Ryusei is in here for when I have pesky creatures on my opponent's side, like tons of tokens or just a bunch of little things with 5 or less toughness that are not flying. I'll put Ryusei out there and I'll sack him with some ability that I have and just have him go to town on all non-flying creatures. And here we have Moonveil Dragon, giving all my creatures fire-breathing abilities. And then we have Dragon Mage, the best dragon in this deck. So fast do you dump your hand in this deck that you need to replenish it a lot. It's also a great political card for me and for your opponents. It allows you to basically allow your opponent to attack them because it allows you to refill their hand and at the same time refill yours. Next we have Balefire Dragon. Having Balefire Dragon out, he does 6 to all creatures and to your face. But he does 6 damage to your face first, and then he does all to your creatures. But if you have him out with Moonveil Dragon, you can pump him up to have him do more than 6 to every other creature that you don't control. Here's one of the newest dragons I put in here, Utvara Hellkite. And when he attacks, or any other dragon attacks with him, you get a 6/6 red dragon with flying onto the field. It's a pretty beastly card, and I have yet to actually ever attack with him because as soon as he is summoned out of the field, either Kaalia or Hardcast, he's automatically getting destroyed. Now we get into the non-creature spells on my deck. First we have Enlightened Tutor to go get all the enchantments and artifacts that I need. We have Path to Exile and Swords to Plowshares to do those spot removals to creatures. Oblation, another permanent pickoff. I save this sometimes for when permanents on my field are being destroyed, and I'll tuck them so that I can draw 2 cards, or just another reason to get rid of another pesky general on someone's field. Vampiric Tutor, just a tutor for 2 life. Chaos Warp, like Oblation, I hold back on it depending on what my opponents are going to be playing. I normally save it for my general if I know my general is going to get tucked or wrath, so that I can shuffle it back into my deck and draw another card for it. We have Vindicate to destroy any permanent that's getting in my way. Armageddon. As I said earlier, it's a fun card with Avacyn if your group is okay with it, but I hate lane destruction. I just keep this in here as a what if or I need to do card. I don't always play it, but if I want to just win the game after it's gone on for so long, I'll just play Armageddon if I know I don't need any more lands, or play it if I have Avacyn out. Next we have Divine Reckoning. It's one of the newer wraths, and it says that each player chooses a creature he or she controls and destroys the rest. Obviously, you're going to be destroying Kaalia or keeping one of your better creatures around once Kaalia is gone, but it's also another great wrath because it has flashback. Here we have Akroma's Vengeance. Basically the wrath for when you want to just end everything and you don't care what dies. So you say, I'm going to Akroma's Vengeance, flip the table. Or if you just don't need to, you can cycle it for 3 and draw a card. Austere Command. Going to be another political wrath. You can work with your opponents to decide what needs to be destroyed. You can pick one of the 4 for them, or then you can pick one for you. So it depends on what you want to do. We have Reanimate. Bring back any target creature from a graveyard, not just yours, it's anybody else's, for as much life as you can afford to, depending on the cost of the mana cost for the creature. Demonic Tutor, search for anything, normally a creature. Unburial Rites. This card used to be a Debtor's Knell, but because Debtor's Knell always took way too long to get going, I ended up replacing it with Unburial Rites, because one Unburial Rites is, right now I get that creature back from my graveyard but it also gives me that flashback ability, so I know I can at least use it twice instead of having to wait for Debtor's Knell to go around several times to make it worthwhile. And we have Living Death for when everything is in your graveyard by now and you just need to just get your creatures back and just swarm the field. Diabolic Revelation. It is a game-winning tutor in this deck. I normally don't cast it till I have about 9 mana. Any 4 cards from this deck, if you can get any 4 at once, will win you the game. Especially if you have Kaalia out and you can swing with her. We have Wheel of Fortune to refill yours and everyone's hands. Reforge the Soul, a either cheaper or more expensive Wheel of Fortune. And then Insurrection for those times where you have your token players and you have your mono blue players and just everyone's going nuts and you don't even have anything on the field, so you can just gather everyone's creatures and kill them all off. Now we get to the enchantments that I run in my deck. First we have Land Tax. Land Tax is great in this deck, but only up to a certain point. I only run 7 basic lands in this deck, so if you get this card past, I guess, turn 7, and you have reliable land drops every turn, it becomes a dead draw, because you're not going to need more than 10 mana on the field at the same time. We have True Conviction, perhaps the savior enchantment in this deck. Many times have I come close to death and then drawn True Conviction to give me all that double strike and lifelink to help me come back and end up winning in the end. We have Animate Dead to grab any creature from a graveyard. Necromancy, perhaps the best, I guess you could say, Animate Dead enchantment. You can play it as though it were an instant. If you do, it gets sacrificed at the end of turn, but you can target any creature in any graveyard, or you can play it sorcery speed, and it'll stay on the creature as an enchantment with no drawbacks. We have Phyrexian Arena for more card draw. Aggravated Assault for the infinite combo with Sword of Feast and Famine. As I said earlier, the card can leave if you want to, but I just leave it in there in case there's an off chance that I'll get it once in a while. We have Fervor to get Kaalia out faster with haste in case you don't have any of the boots in your hand. And then we have Gratuitous Violence. It doubles any damage to a creature or player that my creatures or anybody else's creatures would do. Or sorry, it's only my creatures that I would do. So having this out and Gisela out, so that's triple damage to everything that you attack. The only Planeswalker I run in here, Sorin, Lord of Innistrad. If you even only get him off for 1 turn, getting that emblem out, giving Kaalia the +1/+0, giving her over and over again a +1/+0 is an amazing ability to have. It means she survives a little more. She becomes more of a target, but she allows you to do more damage faster. Now we get to the lands in my deck. Here we have Hall the Bandit Lord to give Kaalia haste if I get this land out earlier. Phyrexian Tower to sack a creature for 2 black mana. Homeward Path to get all my creatures back if I get insurrectioned. Volrath Stronghold to put a creature from my graveyard back into the top of my deck. Slayer Stronghold to give my one target creature +2/+0 vigilance and haste till end of turn. Vault of the Archangel gives creatures I control Death Touch and Lifelink till end of turn. Sunhome gives target creature I control double strike till end of turn. Command Tower, a 3-color card, tri-land basically. Reflecting Pool, another tri-land. And Cavern of Souls, a 1-card tri-land for a specific card, basically, or more. But it's always going to be for Kaalia normally. The fetches I run, Bloodstained Mire, Arid Mesa, Verdant Catacombs, Scalding Tarn, Marsh Flats. My white-black lands that I run are Fetid Heath, Isolated Chapel, Scrubland, Godless Shrine, and Tainted Field. My black-red or red-black lands that I run are Graven Cairns, Dragon Skull Summit, Badlands, Blood Crypt. And the red-white lands that I run are Rugged Prairie, Sacred Foundry, Clifftop Retreat. Now we get to the mono colors. I run a Ganjo Castle in here to save any legendaries I run. 2 damage. And as I said before, I run only 7 basics. I run 3 planes. I have a Shizo in here to give a legendary I control Fear till end of turn. A Bajuka Bog for Graveyard Hate. 2 Swamps. And 2 Mountains. And that'll complete my Kaalia deck. Thank you for watching.